Okay, I see people are already joining, so I will officially start our online event. First of all, I would like to say welcome and thank you for finding time to be with BlueCallom. And as you may know, the topic today is AI and its effect on the innovation space. But we will also talk about BlueCallom software, neuro-innovation, KPI framework, and why BlueCallom became technology-wise AI company. Let me just mention that BlueCallom AI is disrupting the world of innovation management with a groundbreaking software approach that merges AI with neuroscience. And all this will be discussed today with BlueCallom CEO Axel Schulze. You might have been familiar with BlueCallom housekeeping, but for the ones who are first time with us, let me just share with you that this event will be recorded and both the presentation and video will be available for our audience. Also, Q&A session will be at the end of presentation. And if you have any questions, please prepare them. Also share your thoughts, write your feedback. As you may know by now, BlueCallom team is very curious and we can't wait to hear your opinion. With that said, now it's time to introduce BlueCallom CEO, Axel Schulte. Axel founded 4 highly disruptive businesses in Europe and United States, precisely in Silicon Valley. After helping startups develop innovative businesses, he created an innovation framework and AI-driven management software, which empowers business leaders to transform their companies into continuously innovative and growing organizations. And yes, I am talking about BlueCallom. Axel, welcome, and this online stage now is all yours.
All right, thank you very much, Tanya, and good morning also from my side. Good morning to, I think, at least the several European countries, but also to the Asian groups particularly from Vietnam. Hello. So just hang on a second. Okay. So let me share my screen. Share here. You should be able to see it. Okay. So today's topic is how AI is changing the innovation landscape, and sometimes these topics are like good marketing pitches, but we have seen ourselves in the last couple months, I have to say, but also in the last 1.5 years, is that AI is evolving. For those who haven't really followed the AI scenario, I mean, it started way back. I was still at university in Germany back then in Stuttgart, and we had a toy called Lisa, and it was a little software, Elisa, to actually interact with a machine. And this was very primitive, but this was the first touch I had with AI. So this was way back in time. Ever since I was fascinated, I followed the scenes, and we had these so-called AI winters, and then we had AI summers, and then AI winters, and in the winters, actually nothing happened and frustration. So, but I think in 2016 was one of the major breakthroughs when this game Go, which is a board game, was actually won by a computer against the best Go player. Because this goes way beyond chess. Chess is a very logical, rules-based game. Go is, people say you have to have intuition. Now, the computer doesn't have intuition, but it's getting closer to that. And so that was fascinating. But I think when GPT came up, GPT-2, this was about 1.5, 2 years ago, and we were just playing around with it because we were looking at how we could actually use it to compare texts that people put into the application. It didn't work too well, I have to say, but then GPT-3 was a major breakthrough. And then when ChatGPT came, I think right now there are millions and millions of users. I mean, 100 million is sort of a number that goes around. I was on Mid-Journey last night, just want to fix something on our graphics stuff. And there were 1.5 million users live right now, just creating these super graphics, as you can probably see here and here. This is all done with the images with Mid-Journey. There's about 15 million people who are actually graphics designers who design stuff like this. And I'm now a graphics designer too, because I designed this. Obviously, I could have never in my life draw it that way, but an AI can do that. And so AI is now sneaking into every aspect of our life. And now there are a lot of people, and we got some questions early on, which was really great at this webinar. So we have a whole list of questions that you guys actually provided. And there's a certain fear about AI, and I want to talk about that too, but we will do that in the Q&A session. There are a couple of interesting things I think I have to say, because I have the luxury or the privilege or whatever you want to call it, that I have been in this AI world since the very beginning, but I also had this departure from tech into neuroscience a couple of years ago, and that opened my eyes in a completely new world. I mean, if you dive into neuroscience, meaning the science about our neurons and actually how the brain works, and I did it because I wanted to understand, how is creativity and how is idea creation and so forth, then you realize that our brain is way beyond just intelligence, let alone things like, purpose and we want to put the soul somewhere, and we probably have is a good way to put it into the brain, one way or the other. And so what we're doing with technical intelligence, and this is even artificial, so we have ways to go to really have to be fearful. But I mean, humanity has gone a lot of ways, so there might be something in here for us. So what we want to do today is give a quick snapshot into the acceleration of time to innovate, because that is one of the things will dramatically change. Another thing that will dramatically change is augmentation of our ingenuity, meaning our creativity and intelligence with AI, not through, like AI is not replacing it, but it's actually amplifying us. And there's a lot to say. So then data influence, we're talking about data, big data since decades almost. And this has not changed. And data is now something even more worthy to talk about and understand than ever before. And then we want to talk where we want to take it. But these three topics, acceleration of time, augmenting our ingenuity and our intelligence, and the data influence, is something that every senior executive, a CEO in a multi-trillion-dollar, let me say that, company should understand. 2 years ago, I was in a class from MIT, AI for executives. And it was interesting. There were a bunch of people like me. Any age between probably 22 and 200 or something, and executives from enterprises and, simply CEOs from startups. And it was interesting how some of the executives basically midway faded simply out. They was way beyond their comprehension. And then others actually went, to the end. And so I had obviously, you make connections and discuss stuff with them. And it's interesting that BlueCallom, as it is today, and also what I present, would not be possible if I would not have, dive deep into all these aspects as a CEO that has, believe me, 1,000, a million other things to do than trying to get techie. But we are moving as a human race, so to speak. We are moving into technology in a way where the comprehension of what is possible and the creativity of a business opportunity is necessary to drive AI to drive innovation, to drive us forward. No matter what industry you are, if you're in the chemical industry, if you're pharmaceutical, if you're energy, if you're technology, if you're car, if you're beauty, if you're hospitality, if you're running a hospital, and that's a different experience all through. It would be necessary to understand the tools that we are having and how we're using them, not to be technological experience and so on, but to have a comprehension of what that means to the future, for instance, of a hospital or a bakery or, a transportation system or automaker and so forth. So these three major topics we want to talk about, and obviously there is plenty time for Q&A. So let me start with acceleration of time and accelerating myself a little bit in terms of the agenda. So I run through this real quick. So in the 1960s, we researched a bit how long it took until a new product that became sort of a breakthrough took to develop, then build the prototypes, and then get it to market. And this is long before it becomes actually world-class and everything. Apple, when you study the Apple story, and this was after, the 70s into the 80s, actually took 16 years to become publicly a hero company in our industry. So it isn't that Apple just, wow, I have an idea. I built a motherboard, I have an Apple I, and now the world talks about me. Not at all. If we talk about Tesla, it took 14 years until it was recognized by the first automotive magazines as a potential leader in this industry. 14 years. And so if we look into the 60s, it was 13 plus. So 13 was the fastest. It goes all the way up to 20 and even 30 years before. Mercedes-Benz took 35 years to actually become a global company. In the 1919, it collapsed down to 9 years in the 2005-ish time. So this was also with the help of social media. Obviously, the market plays an enormous role in success of innovations. That was 6 years. Then when we started in 2022, we brought it down to 2 years, and we were priding ourselves that within 6 months, you have an innovation that is structured, that is designed, that is actually validated in the market as something that the market really wants and would be willing to pay for. This year, we're bringing it down to 1.5, and by end of 24, probably below 1 year. And this jump from 2 years to less than 1 year, just realize this is just 2 years. I mean, these were 60 to 90, this was 30 years. And then there was another 15 years, and then there was another 15-ish years, and so forth. And typically, it takes longer the more we get to perfection, but it actually now runs, like an enormous speed, similar to the tech industry. And so we will see that we will be faster and faster in innovation. Now, for many people, you would say, gosh, I would be happy to have a breakthrough innovation at all, because we haven't gotten there. And then you see how fast it will go. It's something to consider. And the reason why you haven't gotten really a breakthrough that the press talks about and the stock market ramps up the stock price of the respective company you work for. And these are actually key events to realize that you did a breakthrough. If this goes faster and faster, that means our time to new products and new products drive new products is continuously accelerating. So it will continue to accelerate, and AI is one of the key tools because it will help you think, and it will help think through things that are miserable, repeatable processes until you get to the optimal solution. And the way, for instance, Airbus designed a glass airplane, when you see the solution, it has never been published, but there is actually a TED talk about it. Then you think amazing. And also the chief of engineering said a human could have not designed that. But an AI could not have designed it either, because the input needs to come from the human to tell the AI what it actually should do. I believe that all of you have already played with ChatGPT. I think everybody has, or almost everybody. So it needs your prompt, your input. Hey, tell me this and that. What do you think about this? Can you say this is good or right or wrong, and so forth and so forth? So it needs your input. Without that, there's a CPU at the end, and there is a product that calls software and runs it. Now there's AutoGPT. It runs automatic processes, but also only if you tell them to run this process, and you need to even tell them what process it should run. So we humans will be necessary for a long time, but we will also talk about at the end where we want to take it. And this will be a little bit, even for us, it was a little bit, gosh, I mean, should we even touch this? But I think we should, and I'll tell you why. Now, to bring this all in context with innovation itself, innovation is a journey. It's not just ideation. And when we say our innovation process starts long before the idea and ends when it is in a global market scaling to become a market leader, then if you look at all these things in between, you will notice that the idea is, it's critical. It's the egg that actually brings a chicken or even a human to life. So don't take me wrong. The idea is a core element. That about 10-ish years ago, I wrote a blog post, probably my most read blog post ever, saying the initial value of an idea is exactly 0. So there is no value to an idea unless you go through all this through it. You need to collect the ideas and everything, put it together. You need to validate it. And when you validate it, you get inputs that you wouldn't get if you just think. And this is one of the big problems engineers have. They think, yeah, because I'm logical and I'm smart and I can do that, now this is perfect. And it's not. It never has been. And most of the failures of startups, and as you know, we have been working with hundreds, if not thousands of startups, is part of that, thinking it works and what the market really want to accept. Even if you say, well, the market is stupid, I need to tell them what to do. It's not the way it works. Then it gets financing, and this is another huge hurdle. And we learned a lot from neuroscience, why it is such a huge hurdle and how we overcome it. Then solution building is basically, we build, and as you can see here, this is what we teach in our classes and so on. The solution building starts early on with the market. There's a term we coined market-born products, and market-born products always win. It's a funny thing, but if you work with a market at your product and not keep it to yourself and say, okay, it's mine, and then I will surprise the market with something they have never seen before, not working. BlueCallom, the same thing. In the beginning, it was miserable, but with the market, it helped us to build something that was, I believe today, outstanding. And then innovation to market and the growth and global scaling and so on. So this is the innovation journey, and this innovation journey is what it is because of 2 factors, human and time. The people who buy our solution, particularly our breakthrough, are humans and always will be. Breakthrough innovation is so new that even if you have a robot on the other side, the robot would not be able to decide, well, this is a good idea, we should use it. So it's humans, and then it's time. And the majority of humans are conservative and slow. And so bringing a product to market takes time, and also conservative humans, because they are part of a market. So we cannot say, these idiots, they are so slow. No, they're part of it, and period. And, guess what? There's a large majority of the market is conservative and rather slow. So you have to go through all of that to win. And innovation is something you obviously want to win a market, and can't say, well, the product is there now, let's do marketing something. That doesn't work either. So, and we've seen this in thousands of times, that within an organization, the thinking needs to go through the entire journey. And it's the same team from the beginning to the end. And this is why unicorns are unicorns, because it's the same team that started it, saw a problem, solved it, brought it to market, and actually scaled it and brought it to $1 billion value. So and all this is part of innovation, but now all this is also part of AI. And this is why we want to dive deeper into it. And the deep dive would be learning what the BlueCallom Innovation Framework looks like, because it actually has about 130 innovation success relevant features. And this is not what we can do today, but you can order it or pre-order it right now. We have a little bit delay, but it's currently in the review, and I think we will release it probably in May. And it's about 100 something pages, and it talks to every aspect of and every success parameter of innovation. Now, and this also may tell you why so many innovation teams fail and innovation teams get closed down, because they didn't know what to deliver. And honestly, we as a startup didn't know either. So we were lucky to intuitively do the right things. And this luck and intuition, and obviously the sort of the standing power to go through that, made the innovation at the end of the period. But this is also the reason why more than 90% of startups fail completely, and less than 0.5% actually make it to the top. Now, this is something we want to change, and particularly on the corporate side, because we know how we can change it. So the acceleration of time for us means rapid innovation development, and rapid means within less than a year, we have actually something that is a breakthrough in the respective industry. And this will increase the competitive advantage, particularly because of time, because the rest of the world will, for the next probably 5 to 10 years, until everybody uses BlueCallom, take 5 to 10 years to their next innovation. And if you can do it within a year, you're so far ahead that nobody can catch you. And this momentum that you're creating in the innovation start is the momentum that made Google what it is today. It made OpenAI what it is today. It made Tesla what it is today. And back in time, where the timelines were even wider, it made Johnson & Johnson, the two brothers, what the company is today, and Carl Benz's company, Mercedes, what it is today. So acceleration of time and innovation, or time to innovate, which is one of the KPIs, is a critical thing. And that will, there will be major acceleration through AI and techniques. And I will show you a little bit what it is. Then augmenting human intelligence. And this is the whole big picture also for us as a company. This is what we are trying to do. And there were people before us who said augmenting human intelligence is a good thing. And so this was back in the 60s. Various people were thinking about this, but it was simply too early, because the thought of how AI would work was simply not possible to build. It was not there. The technology was not there. So between the 60s and now, actually there's 60 years passed until we actually got there. And this goes back to time. If we don't have the right tools, it will take forever. And I think AI will make a big major influence here. So let me tell you a little bit, before we actually show you also the product, what the role of AI in a corporate innovation environment is. So, and there are different things, and there's actually a multitude of things that within each of these pockets are done by AI. And so our AI system is not the AI that does this or that. Like Tanya alluded to, we are became a neuroscience/AI company. And I mentioned neuroscience again and again, because this is the biggest driver even for our next generation AI that we're working on. But when we look at this, so smart guidance. So we have this little guy, what we call mentor, and this mentor is a mentor. So mentor is the name, but mentor in the short form. And it helps us guide through a process intelligently, very much like a GPS system. A GPS system needs satellites, GPS system needs a receiver, needs to know where you are, where you want to go, needs to understand the streets and so forth. So it's a nice little thing, but it needs much more than a typical bot. And these bots are, I mean, I don't know how you think about those, but in most cases, they are stupid and they're slow and they don't understand what I'm saying and so on. So we need to consider when we're looking about guidance that the majority is not about what the bot does. The majority is the logic behind it, the data behind it, and the confluence of data from various aspects. So we can give questions, we can drive report automation because the system can collect basically the data and put it together in order. And we can delegate repeatable tasks to the machine. And that becomes a critical thing. The better we get at that, the more time we have for our own creativity and ingenuity, basically for our brain, and less time for administration. And our goal is that there will be a zero administration product, maybe end of this year, maybe end of next year. It's very, very difficult to tell right now. But there will be that product where the innovation team is still needed to innovate. It's their brain, even though they will get even more powerful AI systems than we have even imagined today. Now, to do all that, there's another tool, which is also AI-driven, which is our KPI framework, which actually takes all the data and everything users do on our application and analyzes each step, each click, each piece of content. So it is like Big Brother is watching you, but when you see what it does for you and who can access the data, I think you should be okay. Because it helps you before your boss knows, and definitely before the executives knows, if you are in the right direction, if you're actually doing what leads to success, or if you're losing time, or if you have lack of content, meaning quality inputs, and if you have lack of quality and so on. And a predictive model now, this is coming where the AI comes in, will analyze all the data and tell you, well, you're a little bit behind, focus on this or that, do this, don't do that. Obviously, you're totally free to do whatever you want, but it is a non-sort of threatening guy that looks over your shoulders and saying, Axel, you're slow today. I mean, this is bad. You will get some minuses and so on. No, it's a machine, and whoever drove a car with a good computer system inside, where it tells you that this is a 50 zone and you're driving 65, slow down. Well, this doesn't go onto your nerves like when somebody's sitting next to you telling you in the same words, in the same politeness, in the same calm tone. We're sensitive to machines, but we're far more sensitive to people. And so a machine can actually help you guide much better than a human can. Now then, research and ideas, and you will see this in a second, how we do research and idea creation with AI. So I don't want to talk too much about it. I show it to you. And then at the end, and this is a little bit already today possible, but this is the big portion for the future. I mean, AI-driven problem solving. So the AI also in the future will not solve the problem entirely, but it will give you more inputs and more thoughts and more things to work on than you even possibly can have today. This has to do with a good language model that you have basically the internet at your hands. And now the problem with internet, just a second, the internet is full of BS, so to speak. There's full of crappy information and so on. And this is why, for instance, OpenAI has said, our data will not be the entire internet. We will actually moderate the data and review it before we put it onto like ChatGPT. And that's a very good thing. And even there we see problems, but the system actually discovers it. So now let me click here and show you a little bit how research and ideation and conclusions and so on are done in BlueCallom with the help of AI. Let me go into there's some demo projects and excuse a little bit convoluted page here. That's one of our update that we're going to do. And so you typically would enter into a project and you see all the same what you saw on our innovation journey. So all the episodes here. And let's see if we go into opportunity discovery, then we will get into this episode where we start, before we even start thinking about, we want to discover what opportunity is actually in the market. And this, just by the way, this is our Mentoa. And if I click it away, then it's gone, but it will come back. Hey, Mentoa, or hey, BlueCallom, can you hear me? That's demo effect. This is why you shouldn't do too much live demos. I hope that the other thing actually works, where we go into our hygiene project, and so just to understand the layout a little bit. So this is a typical canvas. I think you all have worked with canvases. You create new snippets, as we call it. These are the stickers that you have typically on your wall. So this is all digitized. Everybody can see it. You can go even 2 years into the project. You can go back and look at them without, where are all the old stickers, stickies where we had our customer feedback on and so forth. So area of opportunity. So I can click on here, and so I can. And this was the way we did it up until a month ago. We did some research. We did it manually. We dive into Google and search through hundreds of documents, and maybe some research companies get their research and so forth. So and this is the first step where I see immediately an amazing change in time savings. So if I would say, okay, what are the sort of the what would be a good model? Oh, no, sorry, this is ID confluence. Where is my idea? I don't have it. Okay, anyway, so I go to Ask ChatGPT and I say, okay, what are the biggest unsolved problems in the what is it, the commercial cleaning industry? So obviously you would extend this prompt, as it's called. By the way, if you haven't used any kind of these tools, prompting is basically tell the AI what your issue is. And what we have done, and you will see it, I believe, in a moment, we have done a pre-prompt to all these questions that are raised in an innovation environment, so you don't have to think about all. So you just pump the question in, and in your case, you may say, well, in the commercial cleaning industry, for systems manufacturers, or for whatever. And now I simply click on Ask GPT. So we interface with OpenAI, and the system will go through that question, respond here, and will show it on the screen where we in the past actually typed in all our research. So, and here's the pre-prompt also. So what we tell the system, that it should act as a researcher. And there's about 3,000 to 5,000 of these tricks, so to speak. If you tell them what the persona is of the task the AI should perform, then it is a better success. Then I ask you as a research question, and you should return the results for our research. And the question is, what are the biggest unsolved problems? So this is the part here that I typed in. This is the part up here that that we put in to the system. Now this is still an early first version now, which it's a production version, so it's already out. But this is where we work intensively to work better. Now, here is the feedback, and this is the interesting part, is that this feedback came now what we usually would have done manually. And as you can see, instead of typically between, I think, 5 days research and what was it, a minute research, that's a huge advantage. Obviously, you can do this by getting into ChatGPT and ask the question. But then you also have to kind of think, what is the pre-prompt, so to speak? What is before the prompt? So to trim the AI system to the best possible answer. And now here's interesting, the difficulty finding quality employees is one of the problems. Rising cost of supplies and equipment and so on is a problem, and limited customer information, unsafe working conditions, and so forth. So this research is basically what we now can use to begin to solve these problems. And when you have watched our progress in the last 1.5 years since we have basically a software, we're pounding on stop idea hunting. Idea hunting is not good. We have been 375,000 years as Homo sapiens on Earth. And what we did in these 375,000 years, every single day to survive, is we solved a problem. This might be tiny little problems. Where do I get food? It might be other problems. How do I build a spear that goes faster, longer, and hit better, and stuff like that? So problem solving is what our brain can do excellently well. Idea finding is something that is relatively stupid for the brain, because the brain can't find a purpose for finding ideas. Because if there is no problem, why should I, brain, waste my energy to come up with stupid ideas? And this is also the reason why in brainstorm meetings, they pop quickly, then they're understood by everybody else, and everybody is happy. Oh, these are cool ideas. But when you look into the details, none of these ideas have ever become a breakthrough innovation. And so here with this research, we have actually a lot of insights we can immediately work. Now, you may have different insights from your business, and you may say, okay, this is good, but I need to do more. So in any case, you would save that, and it would be saved on your system. Need some keyword initial, and then it needs a headline in research. And so you see the coins flying by. So that's part of the background gamification. I have now over 140,000 column coins. So every action gets me coins. So I, as a user, enjoy these coins, and makes me sort of more valuable. Also, typical gamification. But also, we look at each of that whenever coins are flying, so to speak. How can we use this for KPIs? Now we have here our internal research. So, and if I look at it one more time, so I have the complete history of what ChatGPT basically said, and now I can theoretically add an image to it, and that's another nice little, so to speak, side effect. If I look at it, what happened is that we reached out to, where are you going? Oh, that's funny. We reached out to DALL-E 2, which is an OpenAI product, and let the product create an image based on the text. So this is not sort of draw me an image that does this and that. It's basically an image that finds sort of a correlation from the text and just simply puts it there. So it may not be top accurately, but when you hear Verona Moore talk, our neuroscientist, she said, well, even if it's not accurate, every image building a relationship to a text connects in our brain. No matter how wrong it is, it could be a puppet, it could be an apple, anything, but there's still the correlation that is built in our brain. And you have heard the term neural pathways. This is when the brain goes more and more and more in the same direction. Now, in this case, the brain has the text, but another path to the image binds it together, so it strengthens it. And like I said before, our entire objective is strengthen your ingenuity. Now you can imagine we can do this for all kinds of things. Let me go into the, what do I have here? Into the ideation, neuro ideation session, and look for other things, problem analysis, for instance. So let me take simply another case. So let me take, as I know we have somebody on who is active in the door lock business. So now let me see. It's still not coming back. So I have to apologize for the slowness of the system currently. We moved the entire system from our dedicated servers to a hosting service. I mean, I think it's Google, and this is not all set up yet. Sorry, this was too early. I want also to ask OpenAI to, door locks are very competitive business. What are the biggest unsolved problems in the locksmith industry? So we have a similar question which I can ask, but I want to ask something else. I want to ask here, because now we're going into ideation. We want to solve the problem that when door keys get lost, the cylinder need to be replaced as well. We're looking for a solution where cylinder is agnostic and can mechanically be reprogrammed. A digital replacement is not an option. We just want to have the mechanical locks programmable. And I have to say, I did this yesterday. I didn't even know the answer, but it was very interesting with what it came back with as a problem or a potential idea for our locksmith company. And here it comes. So it says, it is really an interesting problem. I think it's important that you research the different types of locks out there before making a decision. Depending on types of locks, sometimes are quite difficult to reprogram. And I have to say, I'm surprised this is a completely different answer now, because it came back with some reprogrammable keys yesterday, which it doesn't do today. So that meets your needs ultimately. So in this case, it didn't come back with the answer from yesterday, and so that is also important to understand when I generate. Let's see, I save this keys. Keys. Save. And let me go into the other project, because I think I shouldn't use that. That was what I was told yesterday. Is it not working, or no? It is. Okay. Neuro ideation. So here the industry research. Oh, sorry. Here it is. Resettable. So this was the answer yesterday from in the context of the key manufacturer, because this project is not cleaning, and this may have confused the system, because here it says the solution to this problem is called a resettable mechanical lock key cylinder, and resettable cylinders is a lock cylinder that can be reprogrammed. And I learned about this yesterday, that the little balls, they can be actually redesigned within the locks, and but you need to have a cylinder that is reprogrammable. So, but this was in the analogous idea confluence. Basically, this was an interesting feedback where we could immediately find solutions that exist. If we would go into the business model, let me see where I have a business model question. Let me go back to where I was, and don't want to stretch it too far. In our disruptive hygiene business, and if I enter the this is ideation. If I enter a business model question here, it even helps me think about how the business model could look like. And I was very excited when Google had that drama about OpenAI to get into their market and take possibly parts of their revenue away. So I go here, what I did yesterday, and I asked actually ChatGPT, what business model could Google go to in order to save their business, and the answer was just simply stunning. So let me ask GPT, what would be a good business model for cleaning tools and systems manufacturer? So a little caveat here. This is just a demo text, of course. When you would do that, and the results will be profoundly different if you into this question also add a couple of things from the problem analysis where you had before, because the more material they get, the faster, and not the faster, but the better the answer is. But let me just get this through real quick to show you that we can, here's the question prompt. Then is ask an innovation, act as an innovation team member. Now I tell GPT in this case not to be a researcher, but an innovation team member. We are working on this problem. We want to solve it. What would be a good business model for that? And here comes the business model from ChatGPT, or from OpenAI. Basically, a possible solution could be to offer subscription services. The company could sell maintenance and repair service through a subscription program, and so forth and so forth. So, I mean, this is real life. What just came back from this monster back in Cupertino or wherever they have their servers. Now this may not be, and this is where you come in as an innovation manager. This may not be the solution you're looking for. And I would even say most likely it is not, because that solution is still, out of all the knowledge OpenAI has access to, probably the best, but is still not the ultimate disruptive solution. But when you get this as an innovation team and now spend maybe a day around that, within a day, I can almost promise you, I can bet $1,000 that you will come up with a disruptive solution by playing with these data points. And the reason why I'm so sure is that, and this comes in, here comes neuroscience back in, you can only create an idea from things that you have in your brain. When you looked at my TED Talk from 2 years ago, I said, and ask the audience, create something creative or innovative or disruptive from a platypus and LexiCrypt. If you don't know what a platypus is, and if you don't know what LexiCrypt is, you're stuck. If you know what both is, you can create something, which means our creativity is actually limited. And there was probably one of my most favorite TED Talks from David Eagleman. He's a neuroscientist in Stanford. He explained in his opening sentence was, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very bad news for you. You are not creative." And with that, he started. And so it became very apparent that we can use only what we have in our brain. Now, this guy can only use what it has in the internet, which is definitely far more than what we have in our brain. But what we can do, which ChatGPT cannot, I mean, a language model cannot, you would need an entirely new model to actually combine ideas from ideas, and then combine ideas from ideas from ideas. And that process is what makes us utterly dangerous, so to speak, because of our imagination is nearly limitless. And even though we are not creative, it's actually good that we are not creative, because if we would be, there would be a lot of stuff coming out of our brain which is useless, and we have to find out whether it's useless or not. But since the brain doesn't do that, we're actually in a good position. So this would be very helpful for you to chew on and then build on it, because this is probably the best way you could find in the internet. By the way, you can start reloading the question as often as you like. You can take merges of reloaded questions and then let GPT ask them to combine the summaries to a new summary. And this is a little bit going into this ideas of ideas concept, but we know from many tests that's not really what our brain does. So you can imagine that we have here opinion. So if I ask the product for an opinion, which I can show you real quick. So difficult to clean the door with fixed mounted furniture. I can ask the opinion, and then if you see that when I do that, that now the system comes back with an opinion, and this is now GPT was asked to act as an advisor to me, not as an innovation member, not as a researcher. I have an opinion on a situation. I want your opinion on it. My opinion is following, and then here's what we entered. And my advice to you: carefully plan the furniture placement before putting it into place. Make sure that there is some open spaces and so on and so forth. So this may or may not work again for you in your particular case, but it's so already focused. And here's something that probably should make you wonder and excited at the same time. The way our brain works is through stimuli, and every question is a stimuli, is a stimulation. And so if I'm telling you, please do not think of a blue elephant that's in the corner of a porcelain shop. When you hear blue elephant, you have heard this so often that you try to not think about blue elephant. But when I continue, I almost force your brain, whether you like it or not, to think of this blue elephant in a porcelain shop. And so this is what happens here too. This is also why it's so much easier to argue on a existing function and make it better than actually thinking from new. That is the hardest job. And so now if we get an AI to let them think what it finds out of their brain, so to speak, of basically the internet, then adding our opinion to that and then beginning to build ideas off of that makes it much faster. So we believe that with a new software, which will be in probably end of this year or next year, we will be able to amplify this so that you rush through sort of an ideation process probably within a day or 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, rapid development. So that's so far about the demo. Do you see my screen again? Can somebody tell me? Yes. Because no, hold on. It should be saying BlueCallom AI Lite.
What is it not showing?
Yes, we can see that.
Oh, no.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what we will introduce in the next weeks, probably 2 weeks or so. The orange version was already AI Lite. It's a reduced version of BlueCallom AI. It will be basically a way where you define your innovation goals. This is one frame, so to speak, one page. Then there are 2 episodes, the needs and dreams, sort of that you put in the market and the needs and the problems and so on. And then the idea process with, having at the end a super idea, a breakthrough. It's up to 10 users. You will have the full support of Mentor, our digital guide, analytics, KPI framework, AI, everything. And it will be free until January 25. So we will have lots of time to play with it. And we only put this date limit to because we don't know what the load will be over time, and so we need to make sure it all work. You can register. You will get the presentation anyway. But if you go to BlueCallom.com and then BlueCallom-Lite-invite, you can register, and as soon as it's available, we will inform you. The thing is free, so you can play with, and you become an instant breakthrough innovation company. Now, we talked about human augmentation, and I think with what I showed you today, you get sort of a glimpse in how we can augment our human intelligence. Now, there's another company, actually the same heritage from OpenAI, is Neuralink, which puts needles and tips into your brain to stimulate neurons directly. We don't do that for many reasons, but one reason, obviously, most people would not like it. But there's another important reason you need to understand. The human brain gets all its inputs from our senses, from our eyes, from our nose, from our ears, and can basically respond with mouse and finger, and so on. Behind the ear is immediately neurons. So you would not need to go into the brain. You can actually, in a healthy person, you can go directly behind the drums in your ear. But if you can do that, why even do that? Why don't even talk to you? And so we found that the best APIs we have already is actually our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our senses, so that we can, and our smell, so that we can immediately respond. And right now, it's actually frightening how fast we respond. I ask you a question or ask you to do something, and your brain responds instantaneously. There's no barrier, there's no switch. You cannot say, "Oh, I don't listen to that person." It takes a lot of training to completely blend out somebody's speak. So we want to augment. Wanted to augment what our brain, what we just did. So sorry, this was too fast. And ingenuity management with AI is a new paradigm, because when we understand that listening is not only on our side but also on the AI side, I mean the prompt. You can also talk to it sooner or later. Then you can talk to our system like you would still type today. It will still get images automatically responding back. And the more sophisticated we get in the conversation with our systems, the better we can tell the system what to do. And the system will get something back to us, so our brain knows what to do faster than ever before, because it's not good in creating something out of the blue, but it's very good in analyzing things and then make a conclusion. Now, again, everything is about data, and now I need to hurry up a little bit. So when we want data and robust guidance, we need to put actually AI into each and every of these things, which represent basically the entire course through an innovation journey. Each dot represents about 2,000 data points. This is putting an idea in, liking an idea, correcting an idea, or a finding, or a research, or an opinion, or a decision. Doesn't matter what it is. And then you validate it, and your team validates your feedback, and you do theirs, and so on. So through a total innovation journey, we're collecting about 50,000. We call it PIs because they're no longer key performance indicators. They're just performance indicators, because we want to distill down 20 key performance indicators. And then one, which we called innovation success indicator. And the innovation success indicator is something where we use predictive analysis as a tool. AI is known to be one of the best applications is predictions, because of chewing through an enormous amount of data. And so what we are doing ever better than, every quarter we improve our accuracy. And I believe by the end of this year, our innovation success indicator is so robust that we have maybe a margin of 5 to 10% max where an innovation may fail, which we couldn't predict as such. Now, and this comes from all these data points and all these activities. And if you think about one of these super VCs investing in unicorns, they put in billions. I mean, literally billions. Their risk analysis need to be so good, much better than every banker ever imagined, because otherwise these VCs would all be bankrupt. But no, they're printing money. And so one reason is because their risk analysis team basically looks at all their startups and everything they do. They have weekly board meetings. And I mean, I can tell you, I've been through that. And weekly board meetings is a painful thing in the beginning, but over time you realize, because also they, like an AI, put data back to you. Well, because of this and because of that, you should do this and maybe consider that. And what do you think about this? And over time, our processing speed grows. And so the same here. So data is utterly important. And this is also now a reason why most innovation centers in the industry, not the startups, because they have their AI is called venture capitalists, but there is nobody in an enterprise who can do that. There's no data at all. So how could an innovation team at any of the big companies between ABB and ZF become successful with no data? And if you look at this, you can probably imagine it's impossible. So now what we do out of these tens of thousands of data, we basically predict, and this is the power of data and AI, and in a bit of a way neuroscience, because we understand how these data are composed within 120 days. So these are about 120 days. We can take out of 10,000 data points where we analyze everything, including the quality of the team. Is this really an innovation team with all the abilities that we're looking for? You've seen this maybe on our website, these cognitive abilities or traits. If they have it, that's good. If they don't have it, it's not good. And we see that if they don't have it, they probably don't get to this point that you see here on the page. But here, after basically 120 days, we are at a point that we can predict a plausibility of success 5 years out, because this is what the magic is of a prediction model. And if it's at 89%, and the CFO of a company has probably go to a 2 or 3 or 4 until he knows or she knows that this is really accurate, then they know they can invest. If it's below 50%, well, it's an old saying, if it's a less than a 50-50 chance, why do it? I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda. But this is the same thing like investors do. They just don't. And there's so many investment opportunities, and there's so many, startup opportunities, or so many innovation opportunities. So why should you invest in something that is super high risk? No reason. And so repeatability, manageability, and predictability. This is sort of the big outcome of everything we do. The repeatability comes also from our own experience. I mean, I founded, as you know, five disruptive companies. We had about 100 teams in our accelerator, and we helped about probably between 100 and 1,000. I mean, depends on how we want to count it, startups. I've been on the board of VC, so I know how they are actually doing risk analysis. And so this is the outcome of all of it. And you can imagine that if the process becomes repeatable, even though innovation is this super unique thing that is absolutely positively unique, otherwise it would be not a disruptive innovation. So, but still the process to get there is repeatable. I mean, it's like every baby that is coming to our world is 100% unique, but the process to get there is pretty well known. All of us, as soon as you're older than 16, you know how it works. So repeatability, and then you need to manage it, and then you can predict it when you have the right tools. Out of this comes what we call the IIPGS, is our Intelligent Innovation Process Guiding System. And our little fellow here is telling us, when I ask the question, what do I do next? Then it tells me, well, the team did this and you did that. You should do now as a next step this and that. And it's either by voice, or I have a little list of activities that it comes up on time, in real time, when I have to do it. And it takes it all again from all these KPIs. So the KPIs are not only, I mean, it's actually just a side effect that executives have access to, where we go. But the most important things of these KPIs, because they're so rich, is actually you as an innovation team manager or as a team leader, and obviously as an executive, but also those who are working on it. So if Mentor says, well, this is not enough yet, you need to do this and that, then you should do it, because you don't want your CFO telling you, no, this is all crap, go back to the drawing board. You want to go there, impress, and actually get the funding. So on the data side, data is more than time and money these days. I mean, it was, time is money, and then other things are money, but both together is still not the value of data, because data drive leadership, data drive influence, data drive success. And if you are an innovation leader, a chief innovation officer, or the CEO, doesn't matter, you need the data. And this is one of those big changes that we're going through right now, that we have still way more than 50% of enterprise CEOs where data is limited. It's more judgment, it's knowing what it is. They get the money anyway, so to speak, and so forth. But those guys who use data, and not just a little bit data here and there from some research that was done a year ago, but data from the here and now, that is where we're going. And then last but not least, where do we don't want to take it? So now imagine, again, we talked about the ideation process, and how the feedback from like OpenAI comes in. And this is what a language model does, what all these models also, what's called Midjourney does. They use things that are out there and put it together in a very intelligent way through their algorithms and give it to you. But what they cannot do, what no AI system can do, is what you see actually on this page. And this is what we're building. And when you look at the neural network, you have these, you've seen these charts, probably you have your inputs, and it explains to you why it can actually see that this is a number 1 or character E, or sees an object and so on. And it noodles it through a couple of steps, and then it sums it up and gives you the result. But what our brain does, and this is actually the chart you see here, is not from a brain, it's actually a digital one, is these branches, and you see my mouse. So here's a major one. Then it goes up here, it actually convolutes, meaning it goes together with something else. Here, it branches out further, I mean, in a very big way. And this is how our brain works. So when we think about something and we forgot the name, the picture, what was it again, or the number or so, it starts searching. And the search process, when you start thinking about it, is actually different than what the brain does normally. And normally it has a pathway to most used things. So this would be probably one of these pathways. Now, in the digital world, we don't have the synapses in between and all the chemicals that does what it does. I think we wish we could do that, but we don't. I mean, you need an apple, a bread, a glass of water, and can think for hours, and you consume probably a couple of milliwatt. Our AI system needs kilowatts for the same process, but this is what we have today. So what we want to build is the search process that if we be here, then this is not the result. It may be here. We also want to look here. We may need to go back here. Sorry about that. Oops. And we want to have these vector structure with intelligent nodes. So the synapses are actually intelligent nodes in our brain. And these intelligent nodes on a vector would be digital in our case. And if we can build that, and this is why I said in the beginning, this is something where I initially had sort of kind of goosebumps to build it, because we would actually build what the brain does exactly. Now, and here comes one thing I really want to make sure you know. The brain does so much more than doing intelligent processing. This is like the muscle does so much more because I can instantaneously reach the hand just because I want to. There need to be no purpose. I create the purpose for the hand to do that. This is something an AI system cannot do, because most people don't know what their purpose in life is. And those people who say they know, they basically build up their own purpose to exist and to do what they want to do. So if we don't know what purpose is and how it's constructed and where it's even constructed, and there are many theories, we cannot build an intelligent system that is even close to humans. And with no purpose knowledge, the next thing would be, do we at least have consciousness? And we don't have consciousness because we need to know what consciousness is actually. There is no center of consciousness. There is a center of consciousness where the synapses and the neurons are triggered, but there is no center of consciousness. What does consciousness? And so when you go back and this is all neuroscience, when you go back in the neuroscience research, then you would start, okay, what has created in the first place? Then you go back to when you were a child, when you were actually born, before you were born, and what does start a brain that is just about to develop to do what it's supposed to do? And there is nothing, because it hasn't been created yet. So that would mean that neither consciousness nor purpose is actually part of our brain cell mechanism. And so unless we understand what it is, we will be light years away from building something like a human-like intelligence. So what this model would be, this intelligent vector model, would help us dive deeper and deeper and deeper in our brain, but also in the brain of an AI system. And with that, we could help, on the ideation side, we could help going far deeper and make way more complex assumptions. We'll still need the human, because when the machine has no purpose, when we say we want an innovation for energy generation, and we don't want to have light, but we want to use, let's say, signals from the space that actually, like neutrinos that go constantly to Earth and want to use their energy, then we need to have a purpose in mind, what we actually want to do with it. And this is not something that the AI system could do. But with this vector model, we would probably get much closer. So the future of innovation is basically, in our mind, accelerating not only through the market, but we are also committed to continuously innovate the innovation process itself. The word process is missing here. Okay. So innovation, to innovate innovation. I mean, this is a little bit what we started, but that's one of our things, and this is where we go. So we will continuously innovate what we are doing, and not only from a technology point of view, but also from a neuroscience point of view, and from an environmental and psychological and ethical point of view. Neuroscience is key to us. I mean, it has been since the very beginning, and it will be until we no longer exist. Because neuroscience is, for us, is the source of how we can improve the tools that help our brain to think. And if we don't understand how it thinks, we can't build a tool. So we know that our muscles do certain things, and so we can actually lift more than we did. And after understanding how we do it, we can actually coming up with different solutions and build cranes with steel ropes and with wheels and with a motor and so on, which we don't have in our body, which we don't need to, don't want to. But if we want to have the flight mechanism to fly to Mars, created, we need to know everything about how the brain works, and we need to know everything about how to fly through space to Mars. So neuroscience is a key driver, will be for a long, long time, because I can't even imagine that there is a date where we know everything humanly possible about our brain. Maybe there is. We don't know. We don't know when. Maybe there's never. But that's part of our journey. And another part of our journey is AI and quantum computing. So AI, obviously, you have seen it where we go. This deep vector intelligence execution model, DVM, this is what we're developing. So we're trying to get deeper into the AI space, and this has to do with what we as a company are doing. Others will build other AI models for what they are doing. And this is the prediction I believe from almost all the AI gurus, is that we will all build AI models that are dedicated to certain activities or industries or thinking models and so forth. And ours is towards ingenuity. Now, we did some tests of what we want to do, and we also realized the computing power will be even more outrageous than what we're doing today. I mean, the AI systems that run on general normal computers is already too much, and part of our activities going into the cloud is not only to be in the cloud, but actually to use quantum computing in the cloud. But obviously there's different software necessary, so it will be a journey. And we will also actually order a quantum computer for ourselves to understand more how quantum computing works. We only know it's extremely fast. I mean, we're assuming roughly 100,000x improvement in speed, in computing speed, and that's a lot. And if you think about quantum entanglement, where at least some people assume that this is something that our brain actually does, and this is why we have the capacity that is so beyond every machine today. I mean, you notice this maybe yourself, you have, once in a while, you have this flash idea, or this flash picture, or this flash something, a complex situation that is in an instant in your brain. There's no mechanic known to man today, or human today, that can do that, not even in our neuron network. There's nothing that can do that, what it does. Now, one scientist came to the idea saying, maybe within those sort of pipelets, the axons, the communication fiber between neurons, maybe there is a quantum connection, which would mean that our brain is actually a quantum computer. And when it is, then it explains why we can do things that today no computer even can imagine to do. But if we go quantum, then we can do, at least from the software point of view, many things more and faster. So this is where we want to take it. And I believe, at least from our own research, there's nobody out that's that far in the innovation space. And this allowed us also, in these things, you have seen it on our website, possibly our petawatt geothermal energy project, which will get us about 20 kilometers down into the earth, where we get 500 degrees C, which is actually the same temperature than a nuclear power plant would get. So if we drill down 20 kilometers, we have 500 degrees. We can put a gas turbine down there, and we get up about half a gigawatt of energy. If we put 1,000 holes into the earth around the world, or 5,000, we get to petawatt, which is actually almost the complete consumption of energy, at least more than the energy we are generating for electricity. An IO-tainer logistics system we're working on that has about 20 times the volume and 2,000% increase in rail distance, high speed, fully digitized, and we solved the last mile project by having a container in container concept. We're talking about quantum communication. So if we put a quantum computer on Alpha Centauri, which is 4 light years away, even if we go with half light speed, we would take about 8 years. But if we start a computer there, which is entangled with a computer on Earth, digital signals would go immediately. Now, this is interesting for all sci-fi fans. If we can tune into quantum entangled pipes of communication streams, that's probably the only way, absolutely the only way, to identify extraterrestrials. Because our current system, which is radio waves, which is takes thousands and thousands of years to be somewhere even near our solar system, let alone other galaxies, we would never get to communication. But in this case, we would be able to communicate with somebody who has the same technology, and so forth and so forth. Now, another project we're working on is lunar fabrication. So there is a company that is actually tasked to build oxygen manufacturing on the moon. We did a little bit of math and said, well, this is probably the most expensive and almost insane project, because if only one company does that, they bear the cost of everybody else that will come later. But if we have 20 or 30 companies doing that, that would be a different project. And so the lunar fabrication project is actually seeing what can be produced better on the moon than on Earth, and bring it all to the moon and share the cost of all the building the infrastructure that will be so much better if we build it now for bigger group and so forth. Digital banking, another one. We see full digital banking is basically an IT center with no cash anymore, and with no feet on the street, with no bank tellers, with no any of the mechanics. And we would move all the mechanics to a third project, which we call FinMart XXL, which is a financial services market. Because if you look at today, the bank, they sell a transaction. You put some money to the teller and say, can you transfer it to my friend or so on? And they say, yeah, of course I do this. It costs you six francs or $6 or whatever. This is like you would be a farmer and put butter shops all over all the cities, all the country. You would be bankrupt instantly. And the only reason why banks are not bankrupt, even though we see where they stand these days, is because they balance it out with other costs. But this is completely insane. This is the most insane and the most, sorry to say that, stupid business model we could find in all industries. So banks need to be digital hubs, and the markets, like almost every company selling through supermarkets, through distribution channels, through implementation partners, through, I mean, any kind of channels. So where we want to take it, summary is fusion of neuroscience and AI. We bring AI ever closer to our brain and to our human intelligence augmentation. And human intelligence augmentation, just want to make sure, is we augment with AI our way of thinking. And I have obviously tested things myself, and I can tell you the advancement even I, as an old man, can do in thinking faster and getting to results. I mean, extremely faster. I mean, all the innovation, the concept innovations that we did that with that model, and it took a day or two. I mean, it was almost instantly. And so you will see for yourself what it does for you and your business. So to summarize it, time to innovate down to less than a year, ingenuity management through AI, data-driven leadership, influence and success, and AI fusion, neurofusion is basically where we want to take it. And this is where you would get, I would say a power of innovation that you would just not get anywhere else. So that's my little advertising pitch to it. The takeaway for you: increase ingenuity level by order of magnitude. I mean, this is not just a little bit. This is not an improvement. This is a breakthrough. Ensuring that innovation success is happening. So this is our mission. And this is the mission of every employee within BlueCallom, is that we ensure that nobody fails to innovate when using our product. And we will probably have a situation, for whatever reason, that it just goes south. I mean, this is sort of the nature of a beast. But I believe that we can stay true to that. I mean, it's a bold statement, but I think it can stay true to it because we know what we have done manually in the past with our own startups or with hundreds of others, and where we failed and where we didn't fail. And I believe that we can hold true to that statement. And as I said, the future of innovation is an interesting beast, and we have a couple more minutes for Q&A only, sorry. But there's one thing I would like to say, and this is, it's not AI that will kill the jobs, but it will people who use AI that kill other jobs. I hope you understand the thing. I mean, it is a new tool which is extremely powerful. You know, when the Industrial Revolution happened, the steam engine that drove machines, that drove vehicles, that drove all kinds. I mean, the entire Industrial Revolution can be reduced down to steam engine. And this is the modern days Industrial Revolution, can be, drilled down to AI. We all will be extremely faster, better, more efficient, smarter, but not because we become smarter, because we have now a tool that enables our brain to do things that just hardly did it, automatically. And if you have an innovation team in your company that is not an entrepreneur and has not the billion-dollar vision and so on, no. Do you want to stop innovation? No, you can't. But this will be a tool that helps you. So rushing into Q&A, and sorry for being a little bit longer than expected, but let me answer a couple questions that have been brought to us also before. So Gerd Unger, he said, I'm lecturing at a university that allows GPT for the students to use and even pushes them to be active in the world of AI. I think that's a big applause worth. And Gerhard, I would just love to have you write a blog post about this, and we share it amongst each other and everybody in the audience, and so everybody can use that to bring it into the market, because that is amazing and outstanding. And this is what needs to be happening, because if we take this away from people, they would take much longer later on to pick it up. Karen Fisher said, let me see, looking for innovation opportunities, scouting. I hope the examples actually helped you a little bit how we do innovation opportunity discovery by researching and outreaching and then consolidating it. Then Tom asked, what do I need to get going with systems, e.g. manpower, money, training, and resources? Okay, so I would say the best is, you speak with our team, but in general, I mean, an innovation team should be between 5 and 10 people. Less than 5 is a little bit difficult. Less than 3, is the power of innovation or breakthroughs comes from multiple different types of brains, and different types of brains meaning different backgrounds, but different wiring. So 5 is a good number. 10 is a super good number. 20 would be probably already too big because then you have to manage this and then there's a degradation already. So manpower, money, we're a software as a service company, $200 per user per month. I mean, that's a standard, like you buy a CRM system and so on. So money shouldn't be in any way or shape sort of a problem. Training, we offer training for every commercial customers. And there are actually 2. One is executive training so that the CEOs actually understand the opportunity and the power that we can bring to the party in an innovation center. And then the training for the teams, of course, also the framework training and so forth. Other resources, I wouldn't say none. For the first 6 months, you would just work and think and create, not even build a prototype. Please don't even try. It would be a waste of time and money and lots of other things. And then you validate your idea with your market, and that's what it is. Then Mr. or Mrs. Thung, what are the ethical, social implications of AI-powered innovation? So now this is obviously a very loaded question. And there are people who are working out, entire series of webinars. Ethics. So when you look at ethics, I have to say, and then you look at whoever you ask for, more or less the result is something that we humans put together and said that is ethically, or this is not ethically. So it very much depends on the society you live in, on the culture you live in. And I'm a person who's looking deep in the past and deep in the future. So we're having zoos where we torture animals, and we do this and we know that, and that is still ethically okay. I mean, it's terrible. I cannot understand how this could be actually still exist. But our ethics system says, it's okay. And the stupid excuse is we want to teach our children to see these animals live. I mean, everybody has so much money these days. You can take a cheap ride to almost any country. But stuff like that drives ethics, and therefore the question of ethics is almost impossible to answer because it depends on the ethics that somebody has put together, even for yourself. And the clear answer is, I mean, we have to understand that ethics and moral is what that is, but we want to not harm anybody. But what is harm? What somebody's harm is somebody else's benefit. So I think there is an ethics model to be developed for AI. I truly believe that, and it hopefully is in a way that it works for multiple kind of ethics groups. But that is really a difficulty because we humans are terrible with ethics. We have terrible ethics. I mean, if you look at our current wars, ethically just terrible. So therefore this is hard to ethics and moral is hard to discuss. Societal is equally hard because societal changes that we have seen in the last 250 years constantly going on, getting more and more advanced, getting less and less supported by our ecosystems, by our education systems. So this is a governmental situation and a human situation. And this means we humans, we need to actually force the government and make it very clear that we have to work on our about 800 to 1,500-year-old education system. We still torture our kids with education that is not needed, with the excuse, again, like with the animals, well, but this trains their brain. It doesn't. We know that today. And again, when you dive deeper and deeper into neuroscience, you know how the brain is actually putting learning and how it forgets stuff that it has just no use for it. And I was accused to be a bad learner. And I was accused to be, not good for higher education. Okay, so didn't need it. But today I know that even in the age of almost 70, I can learn a complete new section very, very fast. But I also learned that is a reason for, it's not that I'm a super learner. No, I'm not. No, probably a little bit. But because I learn only what I want to learn. And I never tortured my brain with stuff that I didn't want to learn. And so when you look into other systems, so you realize education system is up for the grabs. Now, and this goes into AI deeply, because we need to learn where the real challenges of AI are, where the real dangers are, and where the real advantages are. The advantages, very clearly, we humans are advancing by order of magnitude with AI compared to the rest of the previous industrial revolution. This is where we advance dramatically. And this is what we need to understand. That advancement, but also requires that people are able to use AI. So we talked about prompts. So this is what you type in to speak to an AI system. And there are people saying, the new job is prompt engineering. Yet others, I just talked to one a couple of weeks ago, said, no, this will never be a job because the systems will be so smart that you don't need prompts anymore. Well, I would argue they are so smart that we can simply drive their behavior through prompts. But if they would be so smart that they don't need prompts anymore, they would be smarter than humans. And this is what we agreed is, for many reasons, not possible, not in the next, I would say, at least 20 years, maybe 50, maybe even 1,000 years. The job market is part of this same societal and also, at the end of the day, economical system. The job market will change because there will be jobs that will be no longer existing. I mean, we don't have people who basically craft pens. There's a lot of things that are not existing today. I think there was a number of 1,000 branches of jobs are no longer existent that existed 100 years ago. So that's an ongoing thing. But going back to education systems, nobody is telling the kids, unless they have parents who tell them, that there is no safe job. Never has been, by the way, never will be. And there has to be lifelong learning. And people have done it and did very well. Other people did not learn after they finished whatever they were educated to. And they have a hard time today to do anything meaningful. And this is not just worker class or white collar class, executives, super rich guys, whatever. This goes through all our society. And even the super rich guys who don't learn anymore and who don't have even a faint of an idea what's going on in this world are the riskiest of all, because they may actually create a war just to slow down everything else, because they just toast. But if they own 50% of the capital in the world, they can do a war and they can bring everything down. But nobody knows how that works. So again, learning. Technological, I mean, the implication of technology is that AI will be everywhere and anywhere. And even if it's only for grabbing data and assessing them and then sending it somewhere else. I mean, today we have barcodes on pretty much anything, and some goods have little sensors, magnetic sensors, so you can scan it. Sooner or later, and this may be still 10 or 20 years out, that every product, I mean, there's an AI chip on your butter telling you what happened with the butter in the last, whatever, 3 days, and how long it was in the warmth and the cold and stuff like that. But AI is so powerful that it's probably used, sooner or later, everywhere and anywhere. But technological implications also that products who don't have that will suffer until they go out of the market. But that is, like we said in the very beginning, the market is very slow, and conservative people are slow. So it wouldn't be like in 10 years, everything is out. No, in 10 years, the last companies will probably die who have not adapted to the new technology. But even the slow-moving people will adapt. Like everybody has a computer today. Well, take that back. There are a couple of companies or businesses, let's say small businesses in several countries with no computer, but that's rare. But I think this is a topic for most of almost the entire webinar. Then there are a couple more questions: how to check the quality of an AI answers response. That's a very cool one, because there is nothing on this planet and nobody on this planet that will guarantee you that the feedback and the response is accurate. So you have to find it out. And there is something else which our brain can do brilliantly when you train it. I have to say, you have to train it a little bit, is abstraction and association. I think the last time I read a newspaper is probably 30 years ago. Because I realized that the newspaper, they live from advertising. This is the biggest income stream, and you see a balance sheet of a newspaper company. That's all it does. So that influence is so big, plus the influence of the political side, that it doesn't give me anything. I still don't know. I know, okay, there was a flood, but I don't need a newspaper to figure that out. And so Marita has actually started to talk about digital body language. I think this was in 2008 or so when you developed that concept. And we're living by it. And unfortunately, she's not writing that book that she sometimes thinks she should. But digital body language is something that we need to learn. We need to learn based on the way things are written and who wrote it and who has which agenda, to figure out whether there's some accuracy or not. Particularly on the AI, and this is something that OpenAI does very well. You can ask, if this or that is actually correct, and it will check it out. So I asked it once because I needed to know what is with this climate thing. Is it a climate lie, or are these just people who want to be part of the show? And I asked GPT-4, I think it was 12 questions about climate change and responsibilities and so on. And I got the initial feedback was 40% of the CO2 emission comes from human people, from humans, human-made. But it wasn't accurate compared to what other questions basically came as a response. And I said, but if it would be 40%, and this is the volume of CO2 boost into our atmosphere, then the atmosphere itself would be about, I don't remember, 400% smaller in order to make the volume fit. Because I did a couple of questions that talked about the volume, talked about the CO2 weight, and so on. And I came back and said, oh, excuse me, that was a miscalculation. It's actually 4%. So 4% is the human-driven CO2 emission, which is obviously very small. Now, but I was looking then into the data, try to find out where it came from, and there was one source that said, that had actually mixed up, the tons of CO2 emission and the cubic meter of CO2 emission. And so probably this is also the source why still people believe that the CO2 emission is gigantically man-made. And so this is stuff that we have to do, and we will need to question pretty much anything and everything. Again, doesn't matter where it come from. So when will you be publishing the book? Our framework. I believe it will be published, as I said, in May. It may be June. I don't know exactly. There's more stuff coming in almost every day, so it's a monster, I have to say. Then anonymous attendees. I didn't know that we even have anonymous attendees. Can you elaborate once more? How can AI mimic the creation of nodes in the brain? Okay, so that goes a little deep. So we have these brain cells, which we call neurons, and they have dendrites, and these are the things that go basically out and in from others. Now, this is connected with axons, which are the nerve fibers, the neural nerve fibers, and they're connected with synapses. Now, the synapses is a powerful thing because it's more than what we thought initially, that this is basically just sort of a communicator and stops communication. It does that too. But the synapses is also our, allegedly now, since about 2 or 3 years, is our long-term memory. And so on the AI, when we mimic these node system, or these we call it a vector system, because vector system is also part of AI calculate and algorithms. When we use the brain to reach out to other cells, then we do this through cells and cells and cells and synapses, and so it fires along. And if we do the same thing very, very often, it builds actually additional neuron wires, so to speak. And there's a saying in neuroscience: what wires together fires together. And this becomes, so to speak, these so-called neural pathways that in elderly people, if they start learning, they get thicker and thicker, basically, and they repeat always the same thing, what they learned maybe 20 or 30 years ago, and they don't see or know new things. And so this is how we want to mimic it on the technology. The exact mechanism of mimicking it is not quite yet stable and sure. So we're going through a couple iterations still for the next month to figure out how we can do this over a longer stretch of neurons, basically. Okay, and then there were in the chat, I believe, we seem to be in the journey now. There's 2 questions. One, how to check this is the same. When will it be published? Okay, this is the same. So this is chat, and what was the other Q&A? Okay, I think these are all the questions that came in. Can
you just say hi to Vietnam, because there are also attendees from Vietnam?
Yeah, I said this already in the beginning. Yeah, so at least from my side, thank you so much. I'm sorry for the overtime. I think we just need 2 hours of webinars. Thank you very much. And if you want to take it further, just let us know. Our experts will do that. And still one more time, I didn't even apologize in the beginning. So Robert, our VP products, who would actually do the demo today, it's his product, wasn't just able to manage it. So we're all on the edge with our time, and I hope I did kind of justice to what he actually worked out. But I guess you got the idea where we're going, and with that, I would say, thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again, and give it back to Tanya.
Yes, let me just conclude this session now. Like Axel said, big thank you to all of you who managed to be with the BlueCallom team today. I also hope you learned something new. And if there is something we forgot to mention or say, we're always happy to receive your emails and messages on our LinkedIn or our company's official email address. Best regards to everyone, and yeah, see you online at the next BlueCallom event. Thank you. Bye.